somebody just said something that I'm not going to allow you to put me, and I will just ignore you today because I'm a serious girl and I really like to be serious.
Can I give you the revelation behind the topic of today?
Oh,
there's actually a revelation.
Shoot.
Okay, now dealing with rejections and heartbreak in an epidemic came about as a result of a young lady who was in a very beautiful relationship, 2 years relationship. She was already engaged. But due to the pandemic, there was a lockdown.
Okay.
So she was locked down. And within the confines of the lockdown, she fell in love with her neighbor. And after the lockdown, we found out she was pregnant.
Okay.
So don't forget, she's not been with her boyfriend for a while. A couple of months. Her fiance for a couple of months. And then coming out of the lockdown, she's already pregnant. And then the guy is like, okay, I'm done. So he rejected her. But this was
he supposed to accept that?
Most definitely he cannot accept. So this is.
But what about the neighbor?
The neighbor scored the goal. Like he did.
He accepted her.
She doesn't even want the neighbor. That's an environmental relationship. She's crying now. She wants her man. But she was so dumb that she did not take note that something was growing.
So she's pregnant, but she wants the
original fiance.
She wants the fiance to accept the pregnancy? No, I don't get it. Are you saying she's seeking for forgiveness or she's wanting the pregnancy? What are you?
That's where dealing with rejection comes in, because she's right now, as we speak, she's heartbroken. She's been rejected.
No.
She was pleading for.
The fiance should be heartbroken.
Yeah, the fiance is heartbroken, but you see, circumstances warranted what she did. I'm not justifying her. No, I'm not. It's wrong.
But they say, somebody used to say we are all thieves. The only person, okay, let me say it in Yoruba. So, we're all thieves, but the person who gets caught becomes a hand robber.
True.
So, so the fiance possibly was stealing too, stylishly during the lockdown. But
you don't have a fact to prove
he
that.
He got away with it
because he cannot be pregnant. Well, that's your ideology to this.
I'm just thinking.
But for me, I'm here to deal with rejection and heartbreak in an epidemic.
But do you know that a lot of people, I know of a couple,
okay,
friends engaged to be married,
okay,
but they were locked down together, and that was the end of their relationship, because in about 2 months the lady just couldn't cope. In about 2 months she knew the guy in ways she never thought, and she's not like she dodged the bullet. It was a revelation time for her. And the guy is now all over the place saying she must marry him. She returned his ring. It's now trouble. People are talking. She's saying whatever happens.
Tomisin, let's be honest. Until you stay with people, you may not actually know who they really are.
But you're not meant to live together.
You're not meant to be together, but you're meant to spend time together. And for some people, you really need to be around them to understand more about them.
So it really is absurd when you do this, when you get into a relationship with somebody you've not spent, or when you get engaged, to somebody you've not spent enough personal time with.
True.
It's very, oh God. It's
very true, because the rate and frequency of misunderstandings will be uncontrollable. And that's why they usually say, when you get married to somebody, ensure the first 1 year or 6 months thereabout, you guys are home alone together, so that when you lose your cool and talk anyhow, the guy is not offended, because he won't feel like, oh, she's disgracing me, because you guys are trying to find your balance. So the first 6 months to 1 year, be alone with your husband, try to create a balance. And okay, as a matter of the topic, let me just take you through the introductions. What is an epidemic? An epidemic is a widespread occurrence, a disease, an outburst, okay? Just like the coronavirus.
Just like the rape.
Yeah, okay. Now, a heartbreak is a feeling of overwhelming sadness, and while rejection is the act of pushing something away. You see that? So anybody can be rejected.
Yeah.
And that's why we need to understand the different types of rejections. There is family rejection.
Well, my family just won't accept me because they really do not understand what I'm doing or something.
Yes, there is. Or maybe you're the favorite kid of your father, so the other siblings are against you. I have seen a family where every other person is angry that this person is rich. So they feel like they don't have money. So every time there's a conversation, they say, oh, is it because he's rich? So is it because it's now it becomes like it becomes like a problem.
So and I'm going to ask the question. Let me take over to do.
No, for me, I see that as sheer ignorance.
No, that's witchcraft.
Yeah, for you to be envious of. I read chats. Yes, I read chats 2 to 3 times from different people, and I saw the lady saying, is it because he has money? Nobody knows tomorrow. He may be rich today. Tomorrow he will not. I heard from the brother again saying, is it because he's rich, everybody listens to him? And fear gripped me, like, if this can be siblings, how much more from an outsider?
Their mother needs a lot of prayers.
Yeah, so types of rejection, family rejection is deep.
Very
but
true.
Because of time, I won't flog on that. Social rejection, this is the type of rejection that occurs in schools, at workplace,
and
you find people.
You find kids now committing suicide because they're not accepted by their friends.
My dear, it is so strong in the United Kingdom and in the States. Black kids suffer a lot. I'm currently taking one black kid on a therapy right now, and this kid is always rejected by his peers in school. What is his offense? The color of his skin. And I like us to understand that I'm still waiting for the day that Martin Luther predicted, when he said we won't be judged by just the color of our skin, but by the content of our character.
But one thing I'd like to just chip in right there. If you are going through that, I think as a parent you may need to equip your child. Somebody was sharing with me how his child was always, before the boys came up to him and said, you know what, daddy, they victimize us in school, they bully us a lot, and he said he just spoke to a friend and the person said, send them to martial arts. So he took them and sent them to martial arts. So one does karate, the other one does judo. And both
Which
of them
country is that?
That's in the United Kingdom, and both of them became black belts. Now, it's same school. What their classmates didn't know was what they were doing after school hours. So one day, as usual, the bullies came around, and one of them pushed, and the boy pushed back, and then it became a struggle. The boy didn't fight him. All he needed to do was he pinned his hand and he pinned him down. And the bully started crying. And he pinned him for like 10 minutes. And the bully was really in pain and started crying. Now, the bully went home, is a white kid, went home to report. Went to the school, to the home to report. The parents came to the school. And then the parents, when they now invited both parents, the father of the child said, I'm a professor. I told you when my child was being victimized by this same white kids in school. What did you say? You told me to speak to my child to endure. So tell their own parents to endure. That was it. That was the end of it.
But let me be honest with you, Tomisin. I've had to read letters from schools in the UK. At times, do you know for that they can actually send that kid home for 2 weeks or more?
They can.
And
but
sometimes
because the father is in the academia, that was the benefit he had. Okay. That was the only benefit he had. Now, what I'm just saying is, another child may not react like that, but most times when people know that you can fight back, they avoid you. They avoid you.
True.
So equip your children with martial arts. It teaches them tolerance, it teaches them temperance. They're able to control their emotions and their energy, and then their friends and their so-called bullies recognize the fact that they can be pushed around. Please go ahead.
Okay, number 3 is rejection in a relationship. I've spoken about family rejections, the social rejection, number 2. Number 3, rejection in a relationship. You see, you may be interested in somebody and the person may not really want you, and then you feel rejected. And that's why rejection as a whole is my case study for today. And I'm talking to people I'm helping others to see how do you deal with this rejection or this heartbreak in the midst of the epidemic, so that you don't tend to the following things I'm about to say, because you see, there is a psychological effect to rejection. Number one, trauma. Number two, suicide. You see, when a person gets to the point where you're rejected, you feel no one likes you. You feel nobody wants to have anything to do with you. And if you're not careful, number three, depression. You see, from the trauma, you having suicidal thoughts, and then you get into depression, and then pains. You start feeling uncontrollable pains without actually telling where the pain is coming from. It's as a result of the trauma. It's possible. And finally, stress and anxiety. And if care is not taken, if you just jump into another relationship, then you abuse that person. And all these 5 things I've talked about are effects of the rejection. So you really need to be calm and deal with rejection with your mind. So the question right now is, how do I deal with rejection?
With the rejection.
Someone has rejected me. What do I do? Number one, hide the person's number. This is no time to go about crying and begging the person. The person has called it off.
Hide the person's number or delete it altogether?
Let me tell you something. I would have said delete the person's number totally. But the reason I said hide the person's number is because in life we will always meet people. And you never can tell where that may come in handy. But like what I do is, I tell people, you either hide the person's number or you change the name. Don't text. Or if the person has actually been very abusive to you, save the number as abusive, and then you put the person's name.
Yes.
So even in your hyper moments where you are excited and you feel like communicating, at the point where you want to text and you read the name abusive, maybe blessing or abusive tile, you just retrieve yourself and then you come back to your consciousness. You get what I'm talking about?
Yes.
So it's really important you put the number under check. You've been rejected.
Just deal with it. Stay away from temptation,
so you can recover. If the person comes back, it will help you to become better. But you running around throwing yourself on the person, you can actually lose your life as a matter of depression, because between a psychologist once said between depression and sadness is a very thin line. When someone is very sad, in no time they go into depression. I've seen a young lady who slit her vein 7 times just because she felt she was not beautiful enough. Everybody in school had a boyfriend, and the only one she thought was going to be her boyfriend started telling her, can you tell your friend to date me?
Oh my.
And she told me, that's enough to take my life. And truthfully, the best way to deal with it is get that person's number off. Number 2, try something new. What do I mean by try something new? Something that is more interesting to you. You can go on a vacation.
So you can afford it.
You can go on an adventure.
No, assume the person is also poor.
You see, one thing you must understand, Tomisin, is that it is hard to get over a rejection, but you need to try to get out of it.
So I'm looking for cheaper options. So if you say
cheaper options, go on an adventure. And you can have adventure even in your neighborhood. Yes, you can go to a locality, go to the gorge and just dress well and like dress sporty and go down and just go with some friends. Go catch a rabbit. Yeah, go on rabbit hunting. You don't have to spend anything. You go into the forest and you hunt for rabbits.
Are you serious?
Yeah, that's an adventure. That's an adventure.
By adventure, you live in Lagos where there are no
bush to hunt from, right?
But there are. You can come to my side. I have bushes. Well, let's stop.
So try something new. Do something different. Disrupt your pattern. Something that will take your mind out of that thought. I don't know if you've noticed this, Tomisin. There are times you're driving and your mind is on one spot. for a long time, and then you tell yourself, let me play music, and then it takes you out of that spot. There are times you need to actually give direction to your mind.
You know, I had a conversation on the Bumper Breakfast on Wednesday with another psychiatrist, psychologist, and she said you must be intentional about your mind.
True.
She said if your mind controls you, you're in trouble.
Very
so
true.
you must control your mind, irrespective of what you're going through.
And Tomisin, I'll tell you, as a medical psychologist, the mind is always roaming. Whether you are conscious, unconscious, or subconscious, which is the three class of the mind, your mind is always roaming. So you need to gain dormancy. You need to gain power over your mind. And how do you do it? You think what you want to think. You don't think what your mind wants you to think, because you
don't allow your mind to just wander.
Yeah, because the mind will keep wandering. It wanders just at will. So you need to customize your mind.
Oh, I like that one. Customize your mind. Let's go.
Number 3, strengthen other relationships. You see, I usually tell people, boyfriend ends with an end, it will end. Girlfriend ends with an end, it will end. The only thing that will not end is family, because it ends with ILY. I love you. So strengthen the cords within your family. Yes, there are some family members who will be worse than your enemy.
Very true.
Okay, but identify the ones who love you and build solace around them. Strengthen other relationships.
And if you have kids in your family, do you know, strengthen the relationship even with those children.
True.
Children help to bring joy, happiness, radiance to your life.
True. And you see, let's be clear on this. There are some friends that stick better than brothers. In that dying times, they will be there for you. They will be there for you. They will be there to give you company, to give you solace, to support you, to give you counsel, to make recommendations, to make you happy. Because the most important thing is this: if depression becomes the order of the day in your life, then suicide becomes the end result someday. The things you actually think you can never do, you find yourself doing. I've seen people who tell me, I can never smoke, and then you find them smoking a whole pack.
And you're like, what happened?
Something changed. So you need to strengthen other relationships. Number 4, get out there. Just go out there. Change your strategy. You have been in this relationship, it didn't work out. Don't lock yourself up in the house, because one of the ways people destroy themselves is by isolating themselves. An isolated person in depression is a dead person in disguise. Can I say that again? An isolated person
in depression
is a dead person in disguise. That person is a corpse going somewhere to happen. So you need to understand this. Get out there. Don't stay locked up. Go to your friend's place. If there is a lockdown, stay in the balcony. But just don't lock yourself up in the house and wallow in tears. Because the truth of the matter is this: it will not restore the relationship. And finally, this will really help somebody. Saturate your mind with comedy.
Which means you should laugh a lot.
Laugh a lot. Listen to people like Brother Shaggy, Lasisi Elenu, AY, Mr. Macaroni, Officer Wars, Officer Wars, Oluwadola,
Taoma, yes.
The way Worry Picking.
Oh my!
You need to listen to this.
Laugh and laugh.
Master Lee, the famous Chinese superstar. You need to Brother Solo, the one from Benin, and those guys are something else. And the whole White Angel thing. Now, if you understand the value of laughter, you will understand that laughter is therapeutic. It takes so much nerves to frown, and the more you frown, the older you get.
Very true.
But the more you smile, the more younger you look. And that's why you see I look so young, you look so how you look, because of how we relate differently. Okay,
so you remember a video made the rounds quite recently, and people were doing like this, and it was
SWAT.
So I'm going to practice with somebody after the show. That's it on our program for this evening, for this morning. Dr. Precious, how do you close?
I close by saying it really doesn't matter who has rejected you. Please understand that self-love is the greatest kind of love.
Self-love
is the greatest kind of love. Please follow me on Instagram, Dr. PreciousUwas, Dr. PreciousUwas.
And that's it. My name is Tomisin. I'm so glad I had loads and loads of fun today. Hope you did too. And I'm expecting your messages. Send me comments at Bumper Breakfast on Twitter. You can send me comments. You can check out my website and just drop your comments right there. So many of the things that we do are there on that particular site, so you can get to check. And don't forget, Bumper Breakfast is back at you Monday morning 8 a.m. I am Tomisin, and I see ya. Bye bye.
Bye bye.
I see ya.